So now that we've seen intents, let's talk about how you use intents to start activities. Now, if you remember back to the last lesson, I talked about how you could programmatically start an activity using methods such as start activity or start activity for result. Now, when you use one of these methods, Android has to figure out which single activity it's going to start up. And there are two ways in which Android does this. The first way is that if you explicitly named the target activity when you created the intent, then Android can just look that up and start that specific activity. The second way, which is only used if you haven't explicitly set the target activity, is that Android can implicitly determine it based on the intent that was used and based on the properties of activities that you have installed on your device. So let's take a look at an application that explicitly starts another activity. And this application is called Hello World with Login. And it's comprised of two activities. There's one activity called Login Activity and another called Hello Android. Now, when this application launches, Login Activity is the first activity that started. Login Activity provides a text box for typing in a username and another one for entering a password. There's also a button, and once the user enters the username and password, they'll hit the login button, and then Login Activity will check the entered password and username, and if it accepts them, it will then start the Hello Android activity, which will then display the words Hello Android. Let's see that in action. So here's my device. I'll go to the home screen, and then I'll launch the Hello Android with Login application. This pops up a user interface screen, allowing me to enter a username and a password. Now I'll enter that information. And now that I'm done, I'll click the Login button. If Login Activity accepts my username and password, then another activity starts, displaying the words Hello Android. So let's look at the code to see exactly how this is implemented. I'll start by opening up the Login Activity class. Here I'm showing the listener code that's attached to the Login button. And here, the code grabs the username and password that the user has just entered, and then passes them to a method called checkPassword. If checkPassword returns true, then the code will continue. First, it creates an intent called Hello Intent. And as you can see, the call to the intent constructor takes two parameters, a context and a class object for the activity to be started. In this case, loginActivity.this is used as the context. Now, a context is an interface that's used to access global application information. And since activity is a subclass of context, it's fine to use loginActivity.this for this parameter. The second parameter is the class object, in this case for the Hello Android activity. This parameter indicates the activity to be started by the call to start activity. The second way to start an activity is by implicit activation. In this situation, you haven't told Android which activity to start, so it has to figure it out on its own. And what happens here is that Android tries to match the intent that was passed in to start activity or start activity for result with the capabilities of activities that are on your device. And this process is called intent resolution. Intent resolution relies on two kinds of information. First, there's the intent that the calling activity created to describe the operation that it wants to be performed. And second, individual Android activities specify intent filters which describe the kinds of operations or intents that they can handle. And this information is usually placed in the Android manifest.xml file for the applications to which these activities belong. At runtime, when the start activity method is actually called, Android will try to match the intent with the intent filters that it knows about. However, it's only going to use part of the intent information when it does this matching. Specifically, it will look at the action field, it will look at the data, including both the URI and the MIME type, and it will look at the category. So let's take a look at how applications specify intent filters within their Android manifest.xml files. So here's an XML snippet showing an activity tag, and this activity tag includes within it an intent filter tag. That intent filter tag includes within it an action corresponding to the intent action that it can support. For example, if an activity can dial phone numbers, then it should include an intent filter with the standard action intent.action_dial. Now that's the Java name for that. The actual value is really a string. So you'll see android.intent.action.dial. And that's the value that will actually be written into the intent filter. If your activity handles a specific type of data, it can add that information to its intent filter as well. For example, an activity can specify the MIME type of the data it handles. It can also specify the scheme, host, and/or port number of the data URIs it handles. It can further limit the format of the data URI by specifying its path, path pattern, or path prefix. And there are quite a few possibilities here. So please see the documentation for more examples. Now, if an activity wants to publish that it can show maps, for example, then it might include an intent filter like this one, which tells Android that it can handle data URIs that have a geo scheme. Similarly, activities can specify categories for the intents they handle. And let's look at an example that puts all of this together. Now, we can guess or imagine, based on those map location applications we saw before, that Google Maps can handle intents that have an action of intent.action_view and that have a data field with the geo scheme. Now, a while back, I decided to take a look at the Android manifest.xml file for the Google Maps application. And what I saw looked something like this. There was an activity with an intent filter, and that intent filter listed an action of intent_action.view. And it had data, it had a data scheme of geo. In fact, this is exactly what the map location applications passed into start activity. So going back to Google Maps, the activity also listed two categories. Category.browsable, meaning that it can respond to browser links, and category.default. Now it turns out that in most cases, activities that want to accept implicit intents must include category.default in their intent filters. Now finally, when more than one activity can accept a particular intent, Android will have to break the tie in some way. And one way to do that is just to ask the user which activity he or she wants to handle the intent. And you may have seen that. Another possibility is that activities can specify a priority that Android will take into account when deciding between two different activities that can handle a particular intent. Now those priority values should be between -1000 and +1000, and higher values mean higher priority. Now for those of you who are interested in knowing more about intent filters, I recommend you take a look at the adb-dumsys command. Here, I've opened up a terminal window. And now, I'll issue the command adb shell dumsys package. Now this is going to spit out a ton of information from the package manager. So I'll just capture the output of this command into a text file. Let's run the command. And now I'll open that file in a text editor. I'll use Emacs, and then we'll search for the string geo. And what you're seeing here is that the Google Maps application, in fact, has an intent filter for URIs with the geo scheme.